All right, more games going final, and another one decided at the buzzer. It was a Dustin Hopkins kick from 40 that gives Cleveland the win. 16 points in the fourth quarter. Baltimore looked like they had this thing wrapped up in the first half. In the third quarter, things got spotty in the fourth, and in the end, it goes the way of Cleveland. Deshaun Watson playing through an ankle injury, notably here, 20 of 34, 213, setting up his team with that short field for a game-winning kick by Dustin Hopkins. Back in studio alongside Ryan Wilson, Joe Musso here to react to Browns and Ravens. This is always a great matchup, and it looked like maybe this might be the lopsided game we don't often get with the Ravens assertive early on. Yep. But the Browns don't go away in the way that they have in games past. Your emerging thought from this matchup and the Browns win is what?
It's enormous because this feels like the Ravens team we saw over the first month or so of the season, where we weren't sure which Ravens outfit would show up. The last 3 or 4 weeks, they've been absolutely dominant. They blew the doors off the Detroit Lions in Baltimore. Same thing a few weeks later against Seattle Seahawks. And here they came in. They were up 24-9, Joe, after their first drive in the second half. And then, out of nowhere, and you sort of touched on it, Deshaun Watson was banged up, had the ankle injury, gutted it out, and they went on a 24-9 run themselves to win by 2. The final score, of course, 33-31. It just makes you wonder, is this a function of playing a team you're familiar with in the division, or is this a function of the Ravens team we had issues with earlier this season when they were so inconsistent? And I think the biggest takeaway for me is that we saw Lamar Jackson make the mistakes he had not made this year, especially with his arm, had the 2 interceptions. And that's the concern in the near term. The long term, you feel good about who Lamar Jackson is as a player because he's playing at an MVP level right now. But you have to get these sort of games out of your system now that we're in the second half of the season. One thing to figure it out over the first 2.5 months, something else entirely when you're blowing the doors off this team, in much the same way we saw the 49ers do in Jacksonville on the road, and they're unable to finish this thing in a game that seemed almost settled early in the second half.
Yeah, they could have created some space at the top of that division, but the only space created here is via that Cincinnati loss. They remain at the bottom of the division. Now it's 6-3, 6-3. Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Baltimore sitting at 7-3 following this loss. So massive moments in deciding this division come to pass here on Sunday. It was a Ravens effort that looked like it would be enough at times. Yes, Lamar does give a couple extra possessions there for the opposition. But if you're the Ravens, this wasn't the unengaged loss that we've seen in weeks past, where they look to lay waste on everybody, and then you get the stinker you can't really point your finger to. Here, you get a Cleveland team that outplayed them in the second half. What do the Ravens need to do to realize the way that they've been talked about over these last 14 or so days as a real Super Bowl contender, a team that's to be reckoned with in that AFC race, a team that won't scoff or look at an opponent lesser than? I mean, where do they need to be better if they're going to be that team?
I think there should be a Zoom call between the Jaguars, the Bengals, and the Ravens. They can all have the same conversation because coming into this game, we all figured these 3 teams, for different reasons, were going to make deep playoff runs based on what we've seen over the last month of the season. And I think, again, I just go back to Lamar making the mistakes that he typically doesn't make on the ill-timed throws. And look, a credit to the Browns defense, because they bent but didn't break, and that's been sort of the backbone of that organization this year, while the offense has sort of figured things out, while Deshaun Watson has been on the sidelines, while P.J. Walker's had to play, Dorian Thompson-Robinson had to play one game as well. And also the Browns got the running game going, which is something we haven't seen typically with a sort of revitalized Ravens defense. Jerome Brown went for 107. We saw Kareem Hunt score another touchdown, his 5th straight, I believe, which is a pretty incredible stat. So I think you have to get back to what you do well, minimize the mistakes. These are all the cliches, but in this case it feels fitting because this team under Todd Monk and his new offensive coordinator has been hitting on cylinders that we hadn't seen in quite some time over the last 3 or 4 weeks. They'll get back to that. They'll have the good balance of pass and run. Lamar will continue to do the things that he's done, but you can't have the ill-timed turnovers that have come to bite them, certainly in this game, and we saw it earlier in the season when they were struggling to find out who their identity was.
Browns entered the fourth quarter trailing by 14 points. First time in 53 tries that they enter the fourth quarter down by 14 or more and come away with a win. 0-52-1 the last 53 games when trailing by 14 or more in the fourth quarter. This has to be a shot in the arm for these Cleveland Browns, who definitely have talent, but maybe not executing at the level they expected to throughout this season. You look at the record, you look at where they are at this point in the season, and this is another team on that AFC side that can make real noise. What does this do for the confidence of the Cleveland Browns here on Sunday?
It's immense because the defense under Jim Schwartz, the defensive coordinator, who in my opinion should be coach of the year, even though that doesn't go to an assistant, he's done so well with that unit. That defense had to drag this team through the wins that they've gotten recently. And now you have your quarterback back in Deshaun Watson, the guy that you, like it or not, traded everything for, gave that huge deal to, all guaranteed, and he has not been as advertised on the field. Glimpses. So maybe they're making those steps to get in the direction they were hoping they would be with Deshaun Watson. You have the defense doing what it's done, and I think it feels like the AFC North, more than any other division, Joe, has found a way, these teams, to win ugly. And by that, I mean the Steelers and the Browns. And somehow both the Steelers and the Browns are on the inside looking out of the playoff bubble, while the Bengals are currently on the outside. Now that they've expanded the playoffs, you can literally have, there's a way to have 4 teams in a division make the playoffs. And I wonder if that's the situation we're going to be in, because as we sit here, the Bengals are a better football team than the Browns and the Steelers, but they are not currently in the playoff picture in terms of the top 7. So huge win for a team. And as we like to say, you just keep stacking wins. That's what the Browns are doing. That's what the Steelers are doing. And we're now past the halfway point of the 2023 season.
The AFC North was established in 2002. This is the first time ever that the Browns have completed a 14-point comeback in the fourth quarter in that division. It was a comeback for the ages, and one that might be remembered here at season's end. Ryan, thank you. All right, here's a look at some fantasy performers coming out of this one. Deshaun Watson, again, through injury, 17 points. Lamar with the 2 interceptions. That's going to dock you points depending on your league scoring, but 14. Not what you want to see from the dual threat. The Gus Bus, he got in for 9 points. Zay Flowers, again, played through some injury and issue as well. But Amari Cooper, top target for Deshaun Watson, 15 points in fantasy.
Know how much you guys pride yourself on stopping the run. What were they doing when they made their running game so effective today?
A lot of QB scrambles. That's something that, throughout the week we were emphasizing on to stop, and we didn't do that. We got to learn from it. We got to do better. We got to move on, because we have another opponent coming to our house trying to take what we're going to get to, and we're not going to allow that to happen. But we got to learn from it for sure. Definitely lost that. Shouldn't have happened, but every week you're supposed to come, bring your best, and we didn't do that today, so we got to get better.
Coach Harbaugh was saying that stopping the quarterback from running was the #1 priority. Since you guys were already playing for that to happen, why did it still catch you guys off guard?
So what was the last part?
Why did it still catch you guys off guard? Why weren't you able to stop him despite having that as a priority?
I guess we just didn't execute the way that we were supposed to, and they took advantage of it. They capitalized on it. So
you guys did a great job early, slowing down Deshaun Watson. Did you feel like as the game went on, he started to find his rhythm a little bit?
that's what it looked like. That's what it looked like. Yeah, that's what it looked like, and it's just disappointing, but, we got to learn from him and get better, because we have a game in 85, 90 hours from now. So.
Justin, we're rather frustrated right now. Just share what's going through your mind.
Just we weren't, and I think I can speak for everybody, when Kyle got that pick on the second play and Mitchell ran it for a touchdown, nobody thought that, they were going to win the game, and that's what happened. So it's definitely just shocking, frustrated, but, it's the NFL, man. You got to bring your best game forward every Sunday. And we didn't do that today, but we're going to get better. That's what we're going to do. That's one thing I know.
Justin, they seem to get a lot of yards after breaking a tackle or pushing piles. Do you feel like you guys are out physicaled in a way at the line of scrimmage?
No. We just didn't stop Ford from scrambling. He's elusive with his legs. He got hurt a little bit early, so we thought maybe he would slow down. He didn't, and that's just what it was.
We're not sure how long Marlon might be out for, but if he is out for any significant amount of time, how big of a challenge is it to be maybe without Marlon?
Marlon's one of our best players, but next man up. We have a lot of great players on our team. Everybody knows Marlon. Everybody knows he's a playmaker, great in coverage and everything. But if he's down, the next man up, and the next guy behind him is great too. That's just on defense we're stacked, so I'm not worried about it at all, honestly.
All right, thanks, Justin.
Yep.
Thank you, Justin.